The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Brecheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, it is so nice to see chaos and confusion and lawlessness being replaced by law and order. Thankful to you serving on this administration and implementing common sense. I don't know today that it was discussed, and if it has been, I missed it. The Colombian entity that was picked up in the last several days in Houston, convicted of murder that came across the border during the Biden administration, 21-year murder conviction sentence, and the very same ICE agents that were shoved and yelled and cursed at are the same ICE agents that are responsible for detaining and picking up this individual that was in the streets of Texas. You said earlier today in your testimony, discussing what happened in the last several days with colleagues even on this committee on the Democrat side, trying to go to a detention center. This is the same type of place, Delaney Hall, where you would find murderers and rapists, and like this Colombian entity, convicted of murder, and is now in your custody. It's just madness that lawlessness is being perpetrated by even members of Congress. I want to switch gears. FEMA. There is great excitement, even as I'm talking to officials in Oklahoma who would love the opportunity to be able to make sure that the decisions for efficient use of taxpayer monies are implemented on the state level, knowing that the dollars will go farther, and knowing that you all, as you're discussing block granting, can you elaborate on current conditions, current status? There are people all over the country. Even, there's a Democrat member that is former emergency management. He talks about the efficiencies that can be picked up on the state level. Can you talk about where you all are at, where we're headed on FEMA reform that can make the taxpayer dollar go farther?
Yeah, we've got some incredible work ahead of us to do on FEMA and our response as a federal government and how we support states in this, and there's certainly a lot of people weighing in. We've got members of Congress on the House and the Senate side that have bills and legislation that they want to propose, but also I think it's important to have governors at the table because they're the ones who lead the response many times and know where the downfalls are. In many cases, there's hardworking FEMA employees that do their very best to deliver for those individuals in those communities. But what's happened in the past is that even under the previous administration, some of those FEMA employees were given the opportunity to not respond to a disaster if they didn't want to or if it wasn't convenient. And so recognizing the importance of this agency and prioritizing it and making sure it's there to support the local response is incredibly important to the success for those families that get impacted by unprecedented events. So we're taking input. This review council is going to be continuing to give insight to the White House as well, and then the president certainly has ideas. He's traveled and been there for people on their worst days, and he's heard their stories of how they thought FEMA would be there, FEMA promised they would be there, and then they never showed up. They had a claim that they couldn't do the paperwork themselves. They had to get people to help them fill out this complicated paperwork process, and then the claim was never paid, or there was some problem, and they had to appeal, and appealing was normal, and that just doesn't serve people. Yeah. We need to make sure that it's a predictable process that's timely, and the best way to do that is to empower the local supporters.
Well, I've told this story often. Given I've got a minute, I'll relay it to you. I'll never forget in 2012 in Oklahoma, a friend of mine were helping do some cleanup work on machinery. I was on a dozer, he was on a skid steer for people that didn't have insurance. Little rural area, required to push things into vegetative and non-vegetative brush piles. I'm on a dozer and watched, I come from the dirt works world, and I watched us not be able to light on fire in a rural area that every rancher, from your background, does on an everyday basis when they're cleaning up their property. We had to, at state, local, and federal expense reimbursed, bring in 18-wheelers with half rounds, take an excavator, track hoe to load that non-vegetative timber in the back of that, haul it off ground somewhere to bury it with another dozer or a track hoe. Between the trucking, the dozer, the excavator, 4 times the cost because, and I ran as a state senator, a new law trying to get state control of that, and we could not get agency heads in Oklahoma to agree because they were concerned we would lose FEMA reimbursement if we had state control over it. Loss of efficiency. Grateful to you all for your leadership, common sense, returning, not chaos, which was the former state before you got in this position. Thank you.
The chair now